What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony, Michelle, and Casey, and we are discussing Marvel's Thunderbolts.
New
Yay!
Avengers.
The new Avengers.
Y'all not supposed to say that until the end of the show because
Oh.
that's when the reveal came. Y'all are
Asterisk.
wrong.
No, I saw
Well,
the
no, I
reveal
mean, it's on
before I
posters
even saw the
now.
movie.
Yeah, it's on
I saw the reveal
posters.
before I even went to the movie. So
I noticed that because I think I went to go see it again. No, actually, I think I did go see it a third time. I went to go see it again, and I was like, wait, they already changed it in the movie thing? So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, Casey gonna get spoiled because, you know.
No, I got spoiled because I saw a promo, and I, of course, it was staying on Facebook, but it popped up Sebastian Stan walking to a bus stop or something, changing the poster.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how I found out that they were pushing forward with the new marketing campaign, and I was like, it hasn't even been a week.
Nope, it hasn't.
And y'all are already doing
They
this.
spoiled it.
Well, it really should be New Avengers with a Z.
Ain't nobody paying attention to Alexi, okay? Nobody's paying attention.
But they couldn't get the copyright, so
yeah, they can. So are they the New Avengers?
You know what? We will talk about it when we get to that part of the show. We're gonna start from the beginning. First thing I want to say is if anybody has been listening to Anthony and I cover the Wheel of Time and Last of Us, we mentioned that Mike has been absent on the podcast for a few weeks because he had surgery. He is still recovering from surgery, which is why he is not on this show, because y'all know Mike would have had something to say about this Taskmaster bullshit at the beginning of it.
He would have called it bullshit. He would have called it justice.
But you know what? I kind of feel that way too, but Michelle was saying before we started recording that they kind of did her wrong, and I do feel like
it is. It's some BS though, because honestly, you gave Taskmaster at the end of Black Widow for like 10 seconds. So in the posters, even looking at a movie poster now, she's all in the movie poster.
Yes,
she was in the movie. She's not in the movie.
No, she's on the Wheaties. She's on the original Wheaties box. She's in all of the marketing for the movie. So,
even in some of the teasers, they had her digitally put in scenes where she is not supposed to be.
Where she is not.
So at first I thought when she died, I thought, oh, she gonna come back alive.
Me too.
And then I kept thinking she about to pop up. And pop up. And then the whole room was aflame, and then I realized that's it. She's done. She's barbecue.
Yeah, I thought that was, I mean, I guess it was, I mean, I don't even know. I don't know if they did it because of all of the, the fan opinion when Black Widow came out, because I don't think too many people cared for the character, especially those people who were comic book people, because Mike was one of those. Mike was like, I mean, y'all see his reaction every time we do anything and mention Taskmaster. His whole face changes. So I wonder if they did it because of the fan reaction, or if it was just, okay, well, we need to give her a proper goodbye, which I still don't think this was that, because it's, I guess my problem with it is at the end of Black Widow, like, you gave us this whole backstory of her. We find out that she is the little girl that Natasha apparently killed, and that, she grew up, her father was controlling her, making her kill all these people, and she was finally free at the end of Black Widow. So you're thinking, okay, she's going to be able to, I don't know, maybe have a new lease on life, whatever. Then when we come into this movie, she's one of these assassins working for Valentina of all fucking people. But I'm just like, okay, so she apparently didn't get out of that light. She was still doing what she was doing. Here you have all these people that have been sent to kill each other. They're all fighting, whatever. Okay, this is how they're going to do the team up. Then she gets shot, and I'm like, she can heal herself, right? And I was kind of like Michelle. I was waiting.
She's gonna pop up
and waiting, and even throughout the movie, even after the room burnt down, I was like,
still waiting.
She's still gonna show up because, her whole thing is she can mimic other people's fighting styles. I was like, okay, maybe they gave her. I don't know. I was thinking something, but I was not expecting her to go out that quickly and in that way. I just felt like, wow, what a waste of a character.
I think maybe a couple of things. I think maybe they thought that you already have duplicate, like triplicate characters with the same powers between Guardian, Winter Soldier, and John Walker. You already got triple of that. Then you throw her in there with John Walker and Yelena, duplicate power. So it's almost like she didn't really have a place on the team. But the purpose that she actually serves is a sort of a glimpse into what Yelena's future could be. Like she could see her life could end just like that, a bullet to the head, for no apparent reason. So maybe that because she talks about it later, Yelena brings it up kind of briefly, but she does talk about it later. And I think
in the one scene that they actually mentioned Taskmaster.
In the one scene she actually, because I think they could have done a little bit more with that for Yelena, but she already had a lot on her already.
And since she had a lot, we still didn't need Taskmaster. We didn't. We still didn't need her.
No, but I think it's probably more leaning towards what Anago said. I think they just wanted to correct that problem and
just kill her and then get a new one later.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go
and
with
then
that.
I guess
and a lot of people like if she was the only character that of the Thunderbolts that wasn't confirmed to be in Avengers Doomsday.
Well, we should have known then.
So she was the only one.
Oh yeah, you know what?
Is that Anthony? Is that how she died in the comics? Or
he I don't think is dead.
Yeah. Yeah, they completely retconned that character. Yeah.
Okay.
That character is not even a reflection of the character in the comic book. Let Mike tell it. Shout out Mike.
I think what we're gonna do is once Mike comes back, we're gonna have to just do a one-off and just let Mike tell his story, tell his side of things, and tell how he feels about it. And then I'll probably just go back and add it to this later on because I have to know how he reacts to it when he sees it, because I don't think he's even had a chance to go see it yet. So, but yeah, I just feel like on the one hand, they just needed to get rid of her character. But it's like, if that's all you were going to do, you could have just left her out of the movie, because her presence and her death really served no purpose except for with her death. I think that was when they all started realizing, like, talking to each other, oh, well, she was my target, oh, you were my target, oh, that. I think that's when they started realizing that they were duped. And then, like you said, Yelena mentions it later on in the film. She was like, yeah, that could be us. That could be any one of us, or that probably will be any one of us. And I think that was kind of the start of them trying to think like, okay, you know what? Is this really what I want to do? Which we already saw that Yelena was having that issue even from the beginning of the movie. She was just kind of like, oh, this is my life. I go, I get assignments, I kill people, I go home, and she was just, you could tell she was so bored. So bored with her existence. And she probably was looking at that as a way out. Like she told Val, she was like, okay, I'm gonna do this one thing, and then I want something that's more public facing. I don't want to keep doing this anymore. But she should have known that wasn't gonna work with Val.
Right.
People with her position, people with her skills, they don't get the easy out. They don't really get to say, okay, you know what? I think I'm done. I mean, because even when Natasha did it, she had issues. but she had Shield there to back her up, and she had Fury there and Clint there to back her up. Yelena doesn't really have anybody like that. So, speaking of which, while we're talking about who is in the movie and who is not, I do want to ask y'all's opinion. The movie focuses a lot on Yelena, and then also with her relationship with Lexi. Was it just me, or was anybody else wondering where the hell Melina was in all of this? The mom, I'm guessing from y'all.
Oh, what's her name? I was thinking of
that too.
Rachel Weisz.
Right. And for me, I thought, where's mom? Oh my gosh, I forgot what happened in Black Widow. She must have died. Oh, I need to go watch that movie again. That's what I thought. That means she's still alive. Oh, and I don't know where she at.
So she's still alive. What happened at the end of Black Widow was, of course, they brought the Red Room down. Natasha basically kind of made up with Yelena, just kind of they kind of, I guess, let bygones be bygones. And Melina and Alexei took all of the Red Room girls plus Taskmaster, and they were gonna take them and try to help them acclimate to a new normal.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was okay with that because they didn't grow up with them. It's like after everything that happened at the beginning of the movie, when they were kids, they were kind of distant. And we know Melina went to work back. I think her name is Melina. Went back to work for the Red Room and all this other stuff. So it's kind of, I didn't quite expect her to make an appearance because she was already kind of distant with the girls, but she was more, I think the girls were more attached to her than they were to Alexei, especially in Black Widow, when we saw them kind of every time they were with Alexei, it was kind of like, oh my God, like, stop talking to me, oh, you're gross, this sort of thing. So for them to bring in and kind of focus on the relationship with Yelena and Red Guardian, I thought it was interesting because that does carry over from Black Widow. When Yelena was like, stop, you guys keep saying that this was not a real family, but this was the only family I knew. So it's carrying that over. But I just thought it was very interesting that Mama Melina was not there.
Yeah, I just assumed she was with all the other girls, still helping them. Because Alexei wants to be a hero. So of course he's not on that path. He came to America so he could try to be a hero.
Yeah.
That's not what Melina's about.
I know. I don't know. That's a good question.
But then it also makes you wonder because
they didn't even say anything.
With her. Yeah, Taskmaster was with her at the end. And like you said, Michelle, the thing that threw me off is not necessarily that she wasn't even in the movie. They didn't mention her at all.
Right. That's why I just assumed she was dead.
Yeah, when Yelena was having the conversation with him, and she talks about him and about Natasha, they don't ever mention her by name. They just always say your sister. That was also very weird because I'm like, y'all forgot her name. But yeah.
This is a curious question, but it seems like it may be more or less the writers and Marvel is just trying to distance itself away from the Black Widow movie. So you get rid of Taskmaster, you don't mention Melina, and you just move on. I think there was no room in the movie for it, and it would serve no purpose. You just put it to bed, just like you did Taskmaster. Why even bother? You got what you got out of that movie. You got Yelena, and you got the Red Guardian, and that's it. I mean, it's an interesting thought experiment. Why didn't they talk about Melina? What are they up to?
If you think about
the writers, like we're not even concerned about that. That's not even anything we got to worry about.
But if you really think
about it, it's part of Yelena's story,
right?
And that's
if you think about it at the time.
Hold on.
She wouldn't mention it.
It isn't really for the purposes of this movie. Only Alexei and Natasha and growing up together. That's what's important for her for this purposes of this movie. Because she didn't have that same relationship she had with Melina that she has with Alexei.
Right. And Alexi wanted them to be
a family,
more family. So then she was like, so why didn't you come?
It was still a job.
Right. Why didn't you come and check on me? So clearly she wouldn't even mention her mom because it was more of a father-daughter type conversation.
Okay. Yeah. And then when you put it in that perspective, I think Natasha was closer to Melina as well because she was older. And also Natasha, when they were living as the fake family, Natasha, even at that young age, she knew that it was fake. She knew what they were there to do. And Yelena didn't because she was too young. So yeah, okay. That just kind of threw me for a little bit because I was like, okay, so we're talking about Yelena, we're talking about her emotional baggage, her emotional trauma, and you would think that Melina would fit somewhere in that, but yeah, okay, I get it. All right. So, where do we want to start with this movie as far as like digging in deep? Because this movie, when I say, as much as we talk about the Marvel films and how these characters never have a chance to deal with their trauma, they never have a chance to deal with this chaos. Good grief. They were like, oh, y'all want us to deal with trauma and chaos? Here you go.
We go.
2.5 hours of wow. I mean, it was great. It was a great film.
It was
so much to unpack.
So I'm going to say this one thing. In watching it, even from the Marvel beginning and to the end, I enjoyed this movie. But it was bittersweet because what happened to these writers? Where were they for Captain America Brave New World? They did him wrong. Okay, that's all I got to say from watching this.
No. I want you to elaborate on that because I think Anthony and I were texting the night that you guys went to see it, and he told me that you said that, and I was like, "Yeah, I kind of feel her on that."
Yeah,
so
because
I want you to elaborate.
Thunderbolts has the feeling of, I would say, old Marvel, what we've been missing. So I have some issues that when we have the one time where we have to transition to a new Captain America, it wasn't done justice because after I see Thunderbolts, I'm like, where's the same energy? It's not the same energy.
Yeah.
Even though Captain America Brave New World had to have rewrites, it is not the same energy. So I feel like the energy put into that movie is not the same energy put into Thunderbolts. You really wanted Thunderbolts to succeed because you wanted to go off and do these other things. Instead, you just made you a Hulk 3 movie. So I'm a little pissed off on that aspect.
Yeah, and
because then when we see Fantastic Four later, we'll be like, "Wow, Fantastic Four." So then we have Brave New World that just needs to be shoved under the rug like Black Widow.
Okay,
and all the other ones, Ant-Man, Quantum. We can keep naming some of them. The externals, internals. I don't care anymore. Externals, internals, the internals, whatever they are. We don't even talk about those people anymore. I don't even know where they are on the planet.
Do they even matter anymore?
No, they don't. Okay.
I don't know. Everything y'all are saying is right, but for me, I think someone at Marvel, when they came with the Thunderbolts, I'm pretty sure Kevin Feige was like, that sounds interesting, but I don't feel like their expectations of it was that high. Like, I think the writers must have had a little bit more freedom and there wasn't as much control. Like, Captain America is a very important icon, a very important property. So, of course, they're going to want to control it a little bit more and make sure it's perfect and get it just right. The hell with Sam and his journey. We want it to be a great action movie. We can have the Hulk in it. It's going to be great. Thunderbolts, a bunch of B and C characters that nobody really cares about, which was what I was worried about in the beginning.
I remember.
Who's want to go see this movie because of these characters? However, upon close examination, you realize that they you mess this stuff up. They inadvertently did the same thing they did with the Avengers. And I think they realized it at the last second, because you have all these characters who were in their own standalone movies, and you put them in a movie together to battle a major threat. It was the same formula. It's just that I don't think they were thinking about it. Even when they realized, oh snap, we have Black Widow with 2 characters. Then we have, Ant-Man 2 with Ghost. And then you got Falcon and Winter Soldier with John Walker. We have the makings of characters that, like Iron Man, Thor, they're all over the place. And then we bring them together in this one movie. It worked.
Right.
And I think, inadvertently they did the same thing without realizing they were doing the same thing.
So what I hear you saying is the A students was working on Captain America Brave New World, and they had all these expectations, and they drove themselves crazy, and it didn't come out good. And then you gave the other movie to the C students, and we got a good movie here.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Because no one cared. They didn't go to their corner of the studio. It was like, just give us something decent. Okay, no pressure, because we know it's not going to do well. Just give us something decent. And they gave us some good stuff here.
Yeah.
I need to hire them.
And they leaned this is going to go back to something that we have talked about before, with Marvel leaning into the mental health aspect of these characters. Even going back to Iron Man 2 with his Iron Man 3 with his PTSD. And the issues that Tony was having. And then going into WandaVision and her dealing with grief. And Falcon and Winter Soldier, you had Bucky dealing with the trauma and the experience of being brainwashed and trying to deprogram himself. So you have this history, and it's almost like they said, let's just lean all the way into it. And we'll have Yelena as our centerpiece. And I'm actually starting to like her character more than I like Natasha's character. She seems to have more depth to her than Natasha does.
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
She has more depth.
But they didn't give Natasha that.
No, they didn't.
So
they did her wrong because they didn't get. It's almost like the same
just a
thing.
Side piece.
Right. She was eye candy at first, and by the time they gave her a movie, they screwed that up too.
Right. So now they're trying to fix it now.
Yeah. And, going back to what I brought up earlier, as far as them not referencing certain things. Okay. I do remember an interview that I've seen recently. I can't remember where it was, but I think what I read was that Marvel has realized that, okay, this whole thing with the multiverse and the films and the TV shows and making everything tie in together. Okay, maybe we overreached a little bit because people are starting to get fatigued by that. So I think one of the goals for this movie was, okay, 1, bring it back to basics. And then 2, give a performance or get a performance in a movie that, while it does reference certain things, it doesn't have to lean heavily on those in order for this movie to make sense. It's kind of like you said, Anthony, and we've had this conversation before. A lot of people who are watching the movies are not necessarily going to watch the TV shows and vice versa. And for most people, if you haven't watched the TV shows, you wouldn't know who John Walker is. And I think he's the only one. Well, he's the only one that's TV show only as far as the Marvel properties, because even Valentina, we saw her at the end of Black Widow. She was in Wakanda Forever, which I completely forgot about. But
because she's married to.
Yeah, because she used to be married to Ross. So I think if that's the way that they're going to start going with these films, like with some of the films, like we realize all of this is, especially towards the end, you see the Fantastic Four. We know these characters are going to be in Avengers Doomsday. So we know that it is going to eventually tie in. But for right now, they were like, okay, this is the story we want to tell. It doesn't necessarily have to deal with outside influences. It doesn't have to deal with any of the other Avengers or any of the other storylines. Yeah, we can reference this person, which I think is why they probably never said Natasha by name. But yeah, we can reference it, but we don't want that to be the focus. Let's focus on these characters. And I think it worked really well because you do have a movie where you do it, even if you don't really know these characters towards the beginning, because let's be honest, most people are only going to know Bucky. You know, all of the like movie diehard people, they're going to know Bucky.
Don't know Bucky.
Ghost, like she was in the movie, but I don't even remember Ant-Man 2. I hate to say it, but I really don't. I don't remember much of her storyline. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay. But the way that they played these characters and the way that they kind of moved the storylines, like by the end, you do kind of sort of care about these characters, except for John Walker, but that's just me. But, you know, I think they did a really good job with it.
Well, I think you should a little bit care about John Walker. I'm going to push back on that.
No.
You have to a little bit care because in just a little side note, he did serve his country.
He was a hero.
He was a hero. But again, we talked about this in Captain America, the First Avenger, when the doc was talking about when you give the medicine to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They didn't know how it was going to react. Some of the things that he probably needed to go to therapy for and deal with was just deep down inside.
But no, but see, that's the thing. They didn't give John Walker the serum. John Walker took the serum on his own.
Yeah.
They didn't give it to him.
Get the serum from.
Like, remember, they were fighting and they were trying to destroy all. Zemo was trying to destroy all of the super soldier serum, and John Walker came across one of the vials and he took it.
Okay, because he wanted to be a strong Captain America. Again, he had some issues that he needed to have been dealt with. And the serum just amplified some of those issues he had. And then he thought he was going to be a good Captain America until he killed someone.
First of all, he wasn't necessarily. He was qualified. He was put up as a war hero, but the man was doing black ops stuff. So all the stuff he was doing wasn't necessarily good things.
I didn't say that.
And even it's like, well, there was. I think they alluded to some stuff that he may have done that they didn't tell nobody about.
Not finished.
But
also he and Lamar.
Okay,
so this is why I don't like John Walker. Okay, because even before Lamar's death, and we're talking Captain and Falcon America. Lord, I can't even get it right. We're talking Falcon and the Winter Soldier. When he and Lamar were having the conversation about the super soldier serum, they literally was talking about, well, would you take the serum? Would you take the serum? Well, it only enhances, the parts of you, blah, blah, blah. They had this whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
John Walker, at the point that he took the super soldier serum, he knew he wasn't a good person. He had already killed innocent is a relative term, but he had already killed that flag smasher.
You sound like him with that term. Okay.
Well, I mean,
he said the same thing.
Yeah, he wasn't innocent, but I will say this too: the rest of the flag smashers weren't as radicalized as Carly was in that show. They weren't down with her doing the killing and the bombing and stuff. They were like, yo, this is not what we were supposed to do. So that's a whole other conversation. But he had already killed this flag smasher. He already knew he was dealing with dark thoughts. He already knew that he shouldn't take the serum. He wanted to take the serum because and this is the part of John Walker that I really don't like, and this is why I don't like him. He is a full-out narcissist, and he knows he's a narcissist.
Okay,
for someone that to take the serum and then have it amplify all those things about you, like you already knew you were an asshole. Sam and Bucky told that to you plenty of times before you took the serum. So now you've taken the serum that has amplified, and we see it all throughout this movie. His arrogance, his narcissism, he's an asshole
because he's still dealing with the trauma, and it didn't help the situation where he thought he was going to actually be the next Captain America, but he did something on camera that was shady, and then he got fired.
It wasn't shady.
He killed someone.
He murdered.
He murdered someone in cold blood.
Okay, I'm going to say this again. They have done everybody has done some things. I didn't say what he did was right. I'm just saying since he got caught on camera, he got fired. Because if he did that behind closed doors, he wouldn't have been fired. Let's be true about that. So now he's dealing with losing a job, okay? He has no job. He has a family to take care of. And everything you see is negative. All the stuff that Hanako is saying is out for the world to see. That's a lot for anybody to keep taking over and over and over again. So, and now he's trying to act strong when he has lost everything. He's lost everything. He is not ever going to get back with his wife. He's pretty much probably not going to have a relationship with his child because she's the type that looks to me like, no, you're crazy. You're going to have supervised visits. Okay. So that's a lot. But there's still a part of him. And you can see just a part of him that wants to do good and wants to be good. Because there's many times where he could have just walked away. That's all I'm saying.
When he was at the beginning and they were talking about what they should do, and his whole thing was, well, if they're not this and if they're not that, then we'll just kill them. And Bob starts laughing. He was like, what's so funny? He was like, and you were the Captain America. Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like the way that you go from
disagree with you. I am not disagreeing with you. But there's always coming about people needing help at different times of his life. Because he was probably like that as a teenager when he playing football, the aggression, all of that. I still have some feelings for him because he has a lot. Like he literally
so does everyone else on that team, but the
I know they all do.
Else on
the
that
only
team,
person I really don't get is Ghost. What's her name?
Okay,
Ava.
So Ghost, Ava. All right. So,
except she's constantly dying, and that's why she needs her.
So we're gonna skip ahead a little bit.
Yeah, come on, because Anthony, you took notes, or you have notes,
right? So the writers they called. So Bob, or the Void, when he started spreading the Void, people were drugged into the Void or placed in the Void where they got to relive their most guilty experience over and over again. So there were some that were cut, and they called them shame rooms. And Ava's shame room was going to be her second orphanage.
The orphanage?
Orphanage. Yeah. Okay. She's in an orphanage where she was all but invisible. And she was going to relive the experience over and over and over again.
Okay.
So that was Ava's shame room.
And that's her trauma.
Right. That was her trauma. And this trauma of her always being overlooked and not being seen. And now it actually literally is happening to her. It's manifesting something real, which is something that she struggles with.
Okay.
So
I got it.
There you go. That was Ava's. I have others.
But again, going back to John Walker, everybody
you got no notes to help me.
Well, John Walker's. We saw his shame room. After what happened to him and losing his position as Captain America or whatever, he went into a self-destruction spiral, and the self-destruction went towards family apart. That's why his wife left him. Because he was being an asshole. Right. And I think he's doing what he's doing because I think on some level he feels that if he can prove his worth, if he can show the world that he is a hero, then maybe she'll come back. Like it was all worth it for him to do everything that he's done. And I don't think he understands that that's not how that works. He's not understanding that his issues is why she left, not that he wasn't a good enough hero or that he failed as a hero.
See, the problem that I have with John Walker, and going to what you're saying about his wife, I don't think she left him because of his issues, because he had the issues even in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's not who she fell in love with. She cared about him as a person, but he was being an ass. And this has nothing to do.
The writers said that self-destruction.
It's self-destruction.
Is what tore his family apart.
Because again, I'm gonna say this. Yes, he didn't do good things. We all can say we haven't done great things. He didn't do good things. Yes, he killed someone. However, when you are put in that spotlight where all of the mistakes you have made is replayed over and over again, and no one can see anything that you have ever done good, and he's reliving it over and over again, he is being self-destructive. He's putting up walls. Mm-hmm. He's acting like he's going to act like an ass.
And but the problem with him is all the stuff that he did.
It's like you can't. It's different when I make a mistake. You find out, Hanako. I ask for your forgiveness. I act like an ass.
But see, oh wait,
the world. It's the world.
But see, that's the problem, because the whole issue with John Walker, and let's talk about all the Thunderbolts. All the Thunderbolts are killers. They're contract killers. They've done bad things, whatever. John Walker is the only one out of that group who does not take responsibility for the things that he's done. It's always someone else's fault. And he's always trying to make himself look better than he actually is and make other people look small. And that's the problem that I have.
Because he has issues, and those
they
issues
all have issues, Michelle, but
there's different issues. And if everyone has issues, then he has an issue too. We got to say that he has an issue. He needs help, and that help can change him. But I'm telling you the reason why, that he is just self-sabotaging. I'm surprised he is not a drug addict or complete alcoholic at this point. That he's still walking around sober. I'm like completely shocked. Like completely shocked. There are some things that I don't know if they written down just like Ava, that there's some things that drove the person he is as a kid. And we will need to see where that started from.
I understand what Hanako is saying, because I do believe he is an asshole, right? Like, he has that personality. Yeah. It's just that it was never anything that hindered his success. Because you can be in the military and be an asshole, and it can get you pretty far, right? It's just that after everything was taken away from him, and he was stuck with reliving, like you said, that bad thing over and over and over and over again, it wasn't working for him to be an asshole anymore, right? He probably wasn't an asshole to his wife. He may have been a little bit, I'm talking about before all this stuff happened.
But after, that's why they were together.
Right. But afterwards, when he's sitting in his trauma, sitting in all this stuff that happened to him, and he had no way to deal with it or try to cope with it, and there's no one around to help him deal with it or cope with it, he becomes destructive. You're right. He should have become an addict. We don't know. He could have been an alcoholic, because I think he was sitting there drinking when he was reading all the articles about him.
People being extreme assholes is just a cover-up for them never have to feel anything.
Not all the time. Sometimes people are assholes just because they're assholes.
Yeah.
Correct, but I'm just saying we're going to go with that since all these people have issues.
Right, but even in Falcon and Winter Soldier, he was being an asshole to them, and it was fine because people just like, oh God, whatever, and move on.
Yeah, but he was asshole also in Winter Soldier for a reason.
Right, but also once he got the serum and it magnified and amplified those parts of his personality, people around him are not going to be able to deal with it constantly.
Yeah, I agree to that.
And to that magnitude. So Hanako's right. Yeah, he was probably awful to his wife. Like, she's like, watch the baby. You're supposed to be watching. Right. I am watching the baby. No, you're not. You're scrolling your phone.
And I totally agree with what y'all saying. I mean, like, y'all are like really just helping my cause here of what I'm saying.
No, we're not, because the whole point of this started because I said I hated John Walker, and you're trying to convince me not to.
And all I said was there was a little part.
Yeah, there's a part of him that wants.
It's just a little part, little part that is redeemable. That's all I was saying.
He wants to be
also has self-esteem issues, and he still does. If y'all don't understand that part, he does.
He didn't have self-esteem issues when we first met his character, and I didn't like him then.
He did. Then that's another reason why he was acting like that. That's another reason why you make other people small, because you try to make yourself feel better and make you feel bigger. But
this way he keeps bringing that we want to see a championship back to back.
You're like 40 now. There's no need to mention up a championship. See, when you see people mention up shit that they did when they were younger, oh, I won the cheerleading competition. Okay, like we're 55 now. So how does that relate? Okay. We all did stuff when we were a teenager. Okay.
So, Casey, how do you feel about John Walker?
Definitely thought he was a dick. Like, but I feel what Michelle's saying. He everybody in this whole picture got issues. His probably more so than anybody else, because like Anthony said, taking that serum made him more of who he was already. But either way, he got shit he got to deal with just like everybody else does. I don't hate him though.
I guess I'll be alone in that. I don't care. I cannot.
I don't hate him.
Yeah, I can't stand this character. I can't. Ugh.
Look, I can name some characters.
And Nick will tell you. Nick was with me both times I went to go see it. We went to went to a couple of pre-screenings, and every time John Walker was on the screen, I had a visceral reaction. Even when I wasn't planning to have one, I just did. I was just like, oh,
I can't wait till he saves a baby later, and I'm gonna be like, okay, that's okay, that's good. I'll give you like credit
because that's what he's supposed to do. If he's supposed to be a hero, you want to talk to people about how you were the Captain America. You were the official Captain America.
So when he admits that he did wrong, you'll be okay. Like you'll give him a little credit.
I will give him a little bit of credit. Yes.
Yeah, like what does he need to do?
Yeah, I mean, yes. If he just because, like I said, with all these other characters, there is a moment, whether it was in this movie or even when we've seen them before, where they have acknowledged the stuff that they have done wrong. And I mean, this whole movie, Yelena was all about that. And we know Bucky's Bucky's backstory. Bucky has always felt guilt about that. And Bucky was being controlled. He was mind controlled. And, he still feels guilt for everything that he did, even though there was nothing he could do about it. So, yes, if John Walker comes off his high horse just a little bit and at least says, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not such a great guy, blah, blah, blah. Then maybe I can start looking at his character like, oh, he might be able to redeem himself.
None of them are great. All of it. If that's your argument that he's not a great person, they all explained that they weren't great people.
But that's the thing. They all admit it. He does not. That's my whole issue.
Don't say I'm not a good person. I said just because he doesn't say I'm not a good person.
It's not just because he doesn't say it, but it's the whole attitude and the gravitas he has behind it. Like he constantly blames other people for the things that he's done. He doesn't take responsibility for his actions. And then when other people try to point that out to him and be like, look, you don't have to be an asshole all the time. He literally leans into it more by saying stuff like what Michelle said. Oh yeah, I did this, I did that. I was Captain America. I did this. And oh yeah, my high school football team won 3 state championships back to back. Nobody gives a fuck about that, because guess what? All they remember is that you killed a guy on camera and felt no remorse for it. He has not once said anything about being sorry that he did that. He even talks to them in this movie and says that guy wasn't innocent, and they're like, he wasn't the one that you were after.
I'm gonna kind of push back a little bit on that, Hanukkah, because one thing that this movie, the overarching like themes and motifs of this movie is we would have to. I hate doing this, giving the writers more credit than they deserve. but I have 2 things I want to say. So the first thing is, I think it's it might be a little bit harsh of us to think that he doesn't feel guilt about it, because all of these characters feel a certain amount of guilt about the things they've done, right? And he's just trying to hide it so much, because what all these characters are suffering for, this is the existentialist in me, is they've all sort of lost a sense of purpose. They're all trying to find their new purpose in life. They're all trying to find purpose and meaning in what they do and why they're here. That's how the movie starts. The movie starts with Yelena really having an existential crisis. Like, what is my purpose? Why am I doing this? She's doing something she's good at because she is going through the motions. She's almost bored taking out all those guys.
Right.
But at the same time, she doesn't have much of a purpose. Alexei, he is in America trying to find his purpose. He knows what he wants to do. He doesn't know how to get there. He's still looking. Ava, we don't get into her story that much, but she's sort of they're all in the same place. That's what, why do I keep wanting to call her Valerie? I keep wanting to call her the Veep. Because I read an article where someone said that was the vice president in Veep. That was her character, and it was just magnified. She was basically playing the same character, just amplified. It literally is the same character.
Yeah.
She played off of that because she was giving them purpose. She was giving them something to do. So she was able to take advantage of that with Taskmaster and Yelena and John, because they don't. And so I'm not going to be as harsh on John as probably most people, because I think he's just hiding it. He's hiding the guilt. He's trying to cover it up because he doesn't really know. The one time he thought he had purpose, it was taken away from him. And everything he's doing is trying to get back to that. It's like chasing that high. So of course he's not going to admit that what happened was something that was wrong, because that is a bar, there's a barrier to him getting to what his purpose is. He still wants to be a hero. He does. And Alexei, he was telling Yelena later, that's what Natasha found. She found her purpose in doing good and being a hero. That's what you need to do, right? And that was the realization that she had later. You know what I'm saying? So all these characters are trying to find their purpose. And then here comes the group therapy leader, Bucky, who has gone through therapy, who has found his purpose.
Yeah, and a congressman.
Right. And he's a model to them. He's trying to show them that you can find a purpose in life by doing good, just by doing the right thing. I have more notes on that, by the way, but we'll wait.
By all means.
No, we're good. We're good.
You sure?
Yeah. I want to hear from Casey, because I like Casey.
I'm about to call her V2. How you feel about, what's her name?
Valentina Allegra DeFontaine.
DeFontaine. Make sure you get it right.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't add the Countess to her name in this one.
Yeah. We saw her shame room, which is the guilt that she feels for causing her father's death. You know, and that's something that she has been trying to do with all her life.
Yeah, but side note, how you feel about her, Hanukkah? Can she be redeemed?
Do not like her.
She really can't.
I do not like her because
she's a master manipulator.
Yeah, she really
is. And the crazy thing is, for her to have that memory as her shame room, to know that even as a kid, something that she did caused harm to someone that she loved, because, you know, what was it? Her dad had told her not to tell anyone where they lived. And she said she saw a guy in the village and he said he was a friend and he wanted to come by and see him, which, you know, she's about our age. Going back, if you're thinking back in those times, it was very, you know, we always told people, don't talk to strangers, don't give them any information about you, blah, blah, blah. So for her to have that kind of memory and that kind of guilt over what she did to become who she has become, I'm just I just
And for Ross to be married to her, like, I am so confused.
Well, I think she was I think she probably I don't want to say she tricked him, but I just feel
she
like
probably was masking. I mean, she was hiding some things.
Yeah,
you can tell that just based on how she acts. She would never show who her self is.
Yeah, but the realization when she did see her trauma, and when she was with Bob, and then how it looked like, oh crap, that's deep, and then turn around and be like, oh, I can use that. That whole facial expression, I was like, oh, you are dangerous. Because you felt it. And instead of like, oh, I'm kind of scared, you're like, oh, can use this.
I think she was scared at first when she
was. You can see it. Like, you can first see, like, oh, like, that's deep feelings, my emotion, and oh, he can do that. Oh, I have some ideas. Like, you saw it move through her face, and I was like, oh, not good.
Yeah. And I mean, even just her motivations for everything that she was doing, you know, that whole Century project that she was doing, she was experimenting on people who technically nobody would miss if they went missing, you know. And Bob was one of those quote unquote perfect subjects because he was a drug addict. He, you know, he was kind of in and out. He was in Thailand of all places, just trying to do whatever.
Chasing the next high or trying to get cleaned up because he has, as he said, he has these periods of highs and he has these periods of lows. So there were times when he tried to get better and then, you know, slip back into his old ways. But for her to be the type of person to start that kind of project, and then when she sees it's not going the way it's supposed to, you just dispose of the people.
Yeah. Master's counseling student here interjecting.
Yes.
So you have this dude, right? Did they not do any screening, like any psychological screening? Because one, clearly he has bipolar disorder. They knew about his childhood abuse, and they should have maybe noticed that he might have. Nah, they probably wouldn't have saw he had dissociative identity disorder.
They didn't care because they were experimenting and they wanted to be able to kill him if they needed to.
I mean, even Mel, when she had his file, she was like, Val, have you like looked at his file? I don't think we need to be, you know, pushing this along.
Wasn't the only person they were going to do that with when they perfected what they were doing. Then they was going to find someone and do all the tests on to make sure that he would be the right superhero.
Yes. However, in the meantime, you're giving it to the test subjects. What if by chance one of those test subjects it actually works on?
Right. They didn't think about that part.
Okay. So this was the crazy thing.
Hold on. The dissociative identity disorder, he has the void, which is the depression that he goes into. And you have the Century personality because that's what he always wanted, to feel invincible. So he literally was invincible where no one could harm him.
Again, it was test subjects, so you didn't expect it to work.
Just a little bit. And he was a meth addict.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know.
But the crazy thing is, I didn't catch this the first time I watched it. It was when I went back the second time. So in the beginning, when Yelena is going to the lab to destroy the lab, it didn't dawn on me that was the same lab because I completely missed the shadows of the two figures in the background.
Michelle said the same thing. Yeah, Michelle said the same.
I didn't notice it. Yeah. So going back and watching it the second time, I'm like, there is literal physical evidence right here on your wall that something about this experiment you were doing ain't right.
And that's what the doctor was trying to say.
Yes. The doctor was trying to say, like, she doesn't know what this will do. And this person is, you know, this person is dangerous and it doesn't work the way she wants it to. Of course, Yelena is not caring about any of this because that's not part of her mission. She's being paid to destroy the lab. That's all she's going to do. And wasn't until she remembered it later when they were in the shame room. She was like, wait, I've been here. When I looked around and I saw it on the background, I was like, oh yeah, they should have never done this with him. Like, the minute something like that happened, I don't know who Val has working for her. I don't know why they didn't call her and say, hey, we might have a problem with the experiment. But apparently she didn't know. And then
wait, but didn't the doctor say
anyway?
I don't think so.
Right.
Either.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Didn't the doctor say he tried to tell her? He tried to contact her? Didn't he say that?
He said he tried to contact her, but
yeah,
Val's whole persona is she's too busy to do this. She's too busy to do that. She has minion. I mean, that's how she treated Mel the whole movie. Like, that's my minion. That's the person who's going to do stuff. So the fact that she didn't even pay attention to what might have happened there, like, something would tell me, okay, if I was a person who was funding a super secret illegal project and that person over that project was trying to get in touch with me, something would tell me to pick up the goddamn phone. But Val is not me. Val is
when she shut it down,
but you have
she shut it down.
Yeah, she also one of them people who also don't take accountability.
No,
the whole time they trying to impeach her, she's like, "But what did I do wrong?"
Which is another reason why I don't like her character.
Yeah, like, and if she doesn't want to look, she don't want to know, because then she can claim, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Right.
I said clean up. I meant like get some bleach and Clorox and wipe down the studio. I didn't say kill people.
Yep.
Plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability. But I mean, the fact that you are being impeached because of all of this stuff, and then you're sitting there trying to get rid of stuff, like, I don't know what her character is doing. And this is the first time that we've actually like really, really seen her character fleshed out. Because even in Wakanda Forever, we get that little bit of background on her, but I don't feel like we were seeing her full character, you know, the way that she was meant to be seen. So I feel like this is the first time we've seen her really, really fleshed out. But it's like, if you are this person who is so smart, you're over the CIA, you're CIA director, you know what it's like when people are being impeached. You know what folks are going to look for. You should not have been in the middle of your impeachment hearing just now getting rid of evidence. Not saying that I'm trying to help her out, but I'm just saying this is a person who really did feel like she was untouchable. I feel like. But yeah, short answer to your question, Michelle, no, I don't like her. I don't.
Do you like her less than John?
No. Yeah, what's the level here?
And can she redeem herself in your eyes?
No.
Okay.
No.
Even though at the end she introduced them to the world like they wanted. It's still
I was when I say when Yelena walked up to her, I was really hoping Yelena was gonna punch her in the face like Alexi wanted, because I was like, this bitch. The nerve.
She kind of did though. She kind of did punch her in the face.
I mean, just the whole
we own you.
Yeah. But no, that's not satisfying enough for me. It's not.
You need an actual physical touch.
She needs to be punched in the mouth.
Like, what is the character says? She needed a whipping.
Yeah, she needed a whooping.
She needed a whooping. But as far as her and John Walker, so I will say this, a lot of my disdain for John Walker also comes from the fact of the way that you treated Sam and Bucky in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, you immediately came in like, oh yeah, I'm Captain America, you guys are gonna come help me, like treating them like they were the sidekicks. And I'm like,
well, they were. He was Captain America.
No.
So he wrong. So he wrong for taking his job serious.
Exactly.
This is the same thing I said when we were discussing Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm saying it. I said it then. I said it now. You did not earn the mantle of Captain America. So
he didn't earn it, but Falcon did not want it, so somebody had to do it.
No, they didn't. No.
It was a substitute. It was a substitute.
It don't matter.
The government giving John Walker the
if they
Shield.
offered it,
the government giving John Walker the shield without him having earned it is just like our current president giving out all these high-ranking
Hold on.
jobs.
Hold on.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
What is your definition of earning it? Because Steve didn't necessarily earn the mantle either.
But when Steve got it, it wasn't supposed to be an actual superhero. He was supposed to just be a face. He ended up earning it when he went to go save Bucky and those other 100 soldiers from a situation that everyone was telling him to let go because it was impossible to do.
No. He was an experiment. He was supposed to be the first of many, but the doctor got killed, and he had the serum ingredients in his head. So they didn't know what to do with him. He was the only one they had. They didn't want to waste him. They didn't want him to accidentally get killed until they could figure out how to make the serum again. So they put him off to the side and had him, drum up money or whatever. But initially, he didn't really earn anything.
He actually did.
No,
he did.
No, he not did. Really. Well, then.
And during because it was considered hold on. Else.
So what did John Walker do before he was made Captain America? He was a soldier who had a whole bunch of successful missions, saved a lot of people, fought in a couple of wars, earned medals. So how did he not earn it?
He was a substitute.
How did he not earn it though?
I didn't say that she did. I just say
it wasn't. It wasn't like trust me. It wasn't like the DoD didn't go through and try to find the person that would best fit the role. They literally went through a whole bunch of soldiers to try to find someone who would fit the role, and this is the guy they came up with.
And this is why this is all Sam's fault, because he should have took the shield.
Well, that's a whole other
friend. That's a whole other story.
Because they weren't going to make him Captain America unless.
He didn't have to give up the shield. It could just been in his house. He gave it up.
But that's not what we're talking about.
I'm just saying. So they had to find a replacement. And that's the replacement. He's a good-looking dude to put on a poster. He has these medals. They didn't do their testing either. They just found they found a war hero who looks good, blonde hair, very similar to Steve. He can take some great pictures. He got this beautiful wife. They may have kids in the future. This looks great. This going to work out great. It didn't work out great.
But he had the credentials.
I mean, he did, to be honest with you.
But the credentials are not.
Sam did too.
The problem is the credentials are not the only thing that makes that shield, that makes that person. He's not a Steve Rogers. He doesn't have.
Well, no one is going to be Steve Rogers because no one's going to be able to pick up the hammer but Steve Rogers and Thor. You got to think about it. No one else is worthy.
So they should have just left that
honestly,
damn shield.
No one is ever going to replace. No one ever is going to replace Steve. Not even Sam.
Which is why they should have left that shield in the Smithsonian where Sam had them.
No, Sam should have left it in his garage. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that too, but that's a whole other.
And say, I don't know what shield you talking about.
Shield.
I'm not gonna do it. No one should do it.
Right, shield. What shield?
Right, because if nothing else, when Steve gave it to Sam, he gave it to him. He didn't say, "Hey, take this and go give it to somebody because I don't think you can do the job."
He wouldn't
think that you was able to do the job.
Right. And imagine how Steve is feeling right now on the couch watching television and all of this.
He is on the moon, not on the couch. He is on the moon.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Okay.
The moon, the couch.
Let's get out of
either way, he's disappointed.
Let's get out of the weeds. Okay.
But he takes his job serious. That's what we were saying.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I agree with Casey.
He takes his job serious.
Hanako is punishing a man because he took his job seriously when he came onto the scene.
And he had issues.
He was the legitimate Captain America. Yes. And so, yes, they were his sidekicks, and he was placed by the government of this country in charge of the mission.
They were
and
not
those
his
two guys.
They were independent contractors. They were not working with him.
One of those guys is a fugitive, not a fugitive, but is a murderer slash former spy for the Russians. And the other guy, he
Pardoned.
barely pays his taxes.
Okay, and you know what? Side note, pause. And then we give Captain America a bad name, but then we forget his best friend died. That turned him worse too.
Oh, you talking about John's best friend? Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, Hanako, something, a couple of strings. His friend passed away in front of him.
His friend was murdered in front of him.
Right. So he turned. That's why he.
So did Bucky, as Steve thought for 90 years. So no.
Okay. I just totally forgot about that. Yeah, that didn't help his situation though. It didn't help his situation though.
No, but
because his friend could have talked some sense into him too. But that's okay.
And that's the, I think because Lamar even saw that John was kind of going off the rails.
Yeah.
So, but okay, we're gonna get off John Walker. Yeah. My position is very clear. If you want more details, go back and listen to our Falcon and the Winter Soldier coverage.
But I truly enjoy Bob.
I did.
I truly enjoy Bob.
He was one of those characters that, even though he was in his mind so messed up, I don't know, something about him just felt really fresh compared to, other characters that we've been introduced to. Because at first I thought he was just going to be like comic relief, because I didn't know what the Thunderbolts was about. I didn't know what this movie was dealing with going into it, except for the parts about Yelena. Then we get Bob's whole backstory about him being an addict, and him, we see in his shame room, his father used to abuse his mother, and then they both used to abuse him. And it's just like the way that his character came off. And I have a feel a lot of this probably has to do with Lewis Pullman's portrayal of it, because this is the character that Stephen Young was supposed to play before the pandemic. This is the character that he was cast as, and then he had to pull out because of the writer's strike. And then I think he had a scheduling conflict with another movie that he was supposed to be doing. So Lewis Pullman ended up getting it. And I don't know, something about the way he brought that character to life. Like, as depressing as some of this movie was, it was also still like so heartfelt. You just want to take this character and just give him a hug the way the Thunderbolts did at the end. It's like, you just feel like one big hug will solve all his problems. And that's not the case, but you really felt like that's what that character needed. And so when they did that at the end, I think somebody else said, I was looking at commentary on Twitter, and somebody was like, I don't think the Avengers ever did a group hug. Do you
remember?
No.
No.
They sat around and
they sort of did. Yeah, when they sat around, that was their decompression together.
But it wasn't the way that you needed. And I'm sure, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I've dealt with depression before, and I know what that's like. To sometimes you don't need anybody to say anything. You don't need medicine. You don't need this. Sometimes you just need a hug, and that's how I felt when I saw that. I was just sitting in the movie theater trying. I'm around all these other people. I'm like, I'm trying not to cry. But I felt that so much.
Because with that hug, it says, I see you.
And we're here with you.
Yeah.
And because he felt so alone.
They're never going to leave him. Because we clearly don't need you to have any setbacks. So you're going to constantly be with us, okay?
But he felt so alone. He was just alone.
Yeah. And now he has like a family.
Now he has a family.
So he's like, okay, I'm washing dishes. I'm good.
And that's another reason why I didn't like Valentina, because of what she did to him. Because you draw him in and make him feel like, oh, he's going to be important. Isn't that what you want? You want for people to see that you are not your past. You are not who you used to be, or you're not, this is not the only thing you are. Like, you're more important. You have purpose, blah, blah, blah. And then you try to control him, and when he doesn't do what he wants you to do, you want to hit the kill switch on him. Mm-hmm. Like, literally, the man was just sitting there questioning you, like, yeah, I really don't think I should have dyed my hair blonde. I'm not really feeling it, but maybe that's something we could, like, the fact that this man was not just grateful that you gave him this these powers and the suit and everything. You wanted him to be a robot. You wanted him to just do everything you wanted. You wanted to control him, and then you forget that this man is an actual human being. This is a man who has feelings. This is a man who has opinions. This is a man who wants some agency over his own person. And when he decides to voice that to you, you want to kill him. Yeah.
I think you may have went a little bit too far with Sentry, because what really happened was he's like, I'm a god. Why should I listen to you? Mm-hmm. That's about as much agency as he was trying to impart.
But he only said that in response to her, basically, like, you need to do what I tell you to do. And he was like, why do I have to do that? Because if she hadn't done that, he would have been all right.
All he asked for is, could we change my hair color?
Yeah.
Right.
And he went to, nah, we're keeping it this way.
And then he was like, oh, well, why should I listen?
Oh, no. And also, she was telling him to kill the Thunderbolts. Right. And he was like, I've already defeated them. Why do I have to kill them? Like, I really don't want to kill them.
And when I say defeated,
he whooped their ass. He whooped their ass.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
I mean, Bucky was in pieces.
Literal. They literally ran out of that room. But
Alexis picked him up so quick. I said, oh my God, he is out for the count. So he had to grab his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
But the fact that he even questioned that when she was like, okay, so now you can go kill him. And he was like, why? They're already defeated. And, that's the one thing I like about him. He's like, I've already beat them. There would be no there would be no point in killing them now. Like, they're already defeated. They literally had to carry Bucky and take him out because he was unconscious. What would, like, why do I have to go and do anything further to them?
Yeah, they're running.
The fuck with me.
They're running out. They're running to the elevator.
So again, agency, because when he didn't go kill them, that's when she was like, oh, I really hate to do this. Why do you have to do this? He's already shown that he is powerful than all of them, more powerful than all of them put together. You don't have to kill them to prove a point. Yeah. I mean, I realize you want them killed for your safety, maybe, but you got Sentry. You're good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. He didn't do what you wanted him to do, so now you're gonna, you got the kill switch, and you're gonna take him out, and all y'all did was just make things worse. Mm-hmm. You just made it worse because it's almost like you killed that part of him that was the regular, the human part, the conscious. You killed that person, and then that's when the void took over, and the void was just like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna disappear you and you and you and you and you. I didn't know what to expect because the way that they showed it in the trailers, it looked like he was killing people. Mm-hmm. I was really thrown off when Alexi was was talking to the little girl, and the little girl, when I say the whole theater went, oh, because I was like, wait, we killing children now?
Right. Yeah, no. I thought so too. I was like, wait a second.
Like, damn. Right in the middle of her talking. Okay, bye.
Right. And then you literally take over the whole city with the void. And to think that all of those people who you think, they're kind of getting splattered and you think they're dying, but to think that they were all in their own personal hell, dealing with their own shame rooms or their worst memories. And I love the way that they kind of did that in the film, as far as, okay, they have these different rooms. And, I think the thing with Yelena, of course, we get to see several of hers. Mm-hmm. And just to see what she went through as a kid, her first, I think technically speaking, it's a first kill, even though she was the one that she wasn't the one that killed the little girl, but she lured her. Having to see that over and over again, and then the training in the red room, and then her in the bathtub passed out from the drinking, probably after all the stuff happened with Natasha being dead and stuff. I was just like, ooh, I wasn't ready to deal with all of this today when I walked into the movie theater. You're thinking, you're looking at the trailers and you're thinking this is going to be kind of a fun movie, like, oh, they're making jokes, you got the Red Guardian and Bucky, you've got all these things, and then you come into a movie and it's completely different from anything I was expecting. But it was also one of the best Marvel movies for me that I've seen, because they tackled all of that. They tackled the trauma, and like I said, we talk about that all the time, how these characters go through trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. They never get a chance to sit and think about it. They never get a chance to deal with it. It's just kind of off to the next thing, off to the next thing. And to see them actually have to kind of stop in their tracks and deal with it in order to help someone else deal with theirs. I thought it was a beautiful way to bring this team together. And then yes, with Bucky as the lead, because I was not expecting that. Like, Bucky being the leader, Bucky does, I think that kind of proves that he may have his shit together a little bit better than we usually see him, which is good, because that man has been through so much trauma. Like, they were sitting there talking about, oh, okay, so do we want to do one up on the trauma? Oh yeah, I was the child assassin. That's what Yelena said, and they're going through all their traumas. It's like, I don't know how any of them are going to be normal, but I think they're off to a decent start.
Depends on what you consider normal.
Well, okay, right. So let's not say normal. Let's say
functioning life.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the benefits of group therapy.
Yes, let's talk about
not that. Let's talk about Bucky for a second. Let's talk about Bucky. One thing is, I like when we were watching the movie, Anthony turns when Bucky was going to Congress. He was like, elected? They elected him? And I'm like, yes, they did. Even though I don't know how his speeches were, because he said we deal with stuff, we'll get to the stuff, the bad stuff. We'll take care of that stuff. Like, come on, dude. But people felt just his heart, and they were like, yeah, we'll vote for him.
But here's my question. Did he really run for Congress to run for Congress, or was this supposed to be an undercover thing to take Valentina down? Because when he's sitting there talking to Mr. Gary, the ever illustrious Wendell Pierce, when he's talking to him, it's almost like he's saying, look, we already have a plan for how we're going to do this. I just need you to do what you're supposed to do, what you were elected to do, so that we can get her out. So I felt like it was more of an undercover thing.
No, he was actually elected. Okay. Remember in the Red Hulk movie, he was in the middle of campaigning.
But that's why I was saying, I was wondering if all of that was part of the plan to impeach Valentina, because from the way
So what's his motivation to actually, that just don't seem like Bucky, unless he's trying to give back to his community. It could be a community.
The way these things work is they always try to find someone who can win the district. And they were like, oh, he's popular now. He can win the district.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he has a great platform to run on. Someone who was Captain America's best friend, brainwashed into becoming an assassin, being able to break through it, becoming a hero, all this other stuff. But then the other thing I was thinking of,
just a kid from Brooklyn.
Yep.
Just a kid from Brooklyn. But also, he could be running, and y'all gonna hate me for bringing this up. He could be running because maybe half of the people that were in power or in government has been revealed to be
SEAL agents.
No,
he's taking them out.
No, Secret
Oh,
Invasion.
Skrulls.
Yeah, they were Skrulls, so maybe they were looking for new people.
Let's not go there. Let's move on.
I'm just saying.
I intentionally avoided talking about that show.
Yeah, because in watching this, I was thinking, so are we going to talk about this at all? No.
And you mean,
so I guess that show don't exist.
You mean Sora had no idea what was going on with Valentina? You mean Nick Fury didn't know what was happening?
Nick Fury is off world, remember?
Yeah, he is. He has other issues.
He went up on a spaceship.
I mean, he needs to get his marriage together. Okay, let's move on. So, and then the Wakandan should feel some type of way where you just gonna put your arm in a dishwasher. I'm sorry, I had to talk. That's not how you clean it, okay?
But y'all understand that's the best way to sanitize.
It is.
You can't put it in the wash machine.
I understand that, but it's just the disregard. Like you can.
And that arm has probably been through a couple of faces, probably had some blood on it. So yeah, it needs sanitized. But you remember, I said that when I first saw the trailer. I said, "Why the fuck is Bucky's arm in the dishwasher? Why?" But the thing
it's made out of vibranium. Nothing is going to hurt it.
I know, but it just feels. It just feels.
It feels disrespectful, don't it?
It does. I say take it to the dry cleaners. I mean, it just feels.
No, he's not going to trust that into nobody else.
I'm just joking. I am joking.
Yeah, but
because he won't give it back.
The thing I really like about Bucky in this movie is how really human he seems. Like. He's the type of person where when they come up to him with the microphones to ask him questions, he's just like, he's not polished. He's not like this new and improved Bucky. He's still the same kind of, so we're gonna do the thing because that's the thing we're supposed to do, and we're gonna do the thing. And he's just still unsure of himself. Him sitting there reading the brochure, and he spills the taco on himself. I was just like, I know some people were like, why are they making Bucky seem like he's stupid? I'm like, no, they're making Bucky seem like he's human, and I love it. Like this is
because
not the superstar we're looking at.
Bucky wasn't reading anything back in the day either.
Well,
Bucky was a playboy.
Remember, Bucky read The Hobbit in 1937.
He did. But all those people around that time read The Hobbit. But what I tried to say was, Bucky not stupid, but Bucky wasn't reading stuff. And he like, well, I got to read this now. I don't want to.
Yeah.
However, he watched Terminator 2 though.
Yeah. But what did Wendell Pierce say? Did you read the brochure?
No. Did you read the packet?
Did you read the packet?
Like, read the packet, Bucky. And he was like,
oh, man. And he was reading the packet. He's like, it's so boring here. It's stupid.
But I loved it.
But you know what about that part? I thought that he was saying, because, like, to me, when he was talking about we gonna do this, the long game, I think Bucky is so used to fighting. So he's like, let's go fight it out. That's what I took from it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? More so than telling him anything else. Bucky's thought was to fight it out because that's that's what he know how to do.
Yeah. He's like, let's go grab her. Let's go put her in a room and you can talk.
Yes. You're like, no, we're not solving things this way right now, Bucky.
But that was my thought on that part. I was thinking he like, let's just go pick, like they would do if it was him and Steve or him and anybody else. Let's just go pick her up, but talk to her and get to the bottom of it that way. Where he's trying to do it the legal way.
That probably would have worked better for them doing it that way.
Yeah.
Well, he can't have it both ways because when Mel says, you can just track my phone, he's like, I don't do that kind of thing.
I don't do that kind of thing anymore. And she's like, okay, Mr. Congressman, thank you. And he was just looking at the phone like, I guess I'm doing it that way. But that was going to be my question, because when they finally get up to Mel's tower, which, the fact that she has Avengers Tower bothers me. But anyway, when they get up there, she makes a comment to Bucky, and she was like, even I wasn't expecting you to last, more than a term, but not even 6 months. So I'm guessing that at the point he went Terminator and went to go find them, he was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I can't do this and do this.
No, I think that once it comes out that he did that, he would lose his job because he would.
Not necessarily.
Technically, he's a new Avenger now.
Now he just blew up tanks.
Not necessarily.
Come on, Anthony DeCarlo. I'm sorry, I'm about to say your government name.
Congressmen get away with a lot of stuff.
But that's what he just did. He went full Terminator 2 out on that road. Like, he lost his job.
Someone got to prove it, though.
She would. So that's the thing. Because she can say that.
Valentina can't prove it because if she proves it, she's
admitted
there.
Oh yeah, you know that stuff y'all were trying to
be sneaky.
Trust me.
She will have tapes.
Bucky has been doing this for 100 years. He knows how not to get caught. So trust me, he'll be all right. I think she was just saying, "Oh, you can even make it after." He probably hadn't even resigned.
Yeah, because he riding around with a shotgun.
He blew up. He blew
up.
How long has he been doing this, Hanako? 100 years.
Damn time.
But he's not in that real frame of mind when he was assassin and covering up his tracks.
But he can still do what he's doing.
He's still dangerous. I didn't say.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's still dangerous.
Yeah. He's still dangerous. He's just not cleaning up his tracks. That's all I was saying.
No, I think he's even more cautious now.
Fight with his credit card. See, when he was a spy.
Now you're filling in. Now you're making stuff.
He killed people and took a motorcycle. I'm sorry.
No, that's probably his motorcycle. I will say that.
Trust, he still has safe houses all over the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me. He's been doing this 100 years. He's fine.
Yeah. They don't get rid of all your stuff overnight.
Because you never know. Because one of the things that we did learn when Valentina was in her hearing, this is taking place some months after Red Hulk emerged.
Mm-hmm.
So Bucky is not in retirement by no stretch of the imagination.
No, but
he might have been taking
at the end as the new Avenger. He doesn't have that congressman job anymore.
Oh yeah, no, he can't.
That's what I'm saying. It's over.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. He has to retire.
Look,
you can't do both.
He can be done with the congressman because if I have to look at him in that new Avenger suit, I'll take it. He can resign. He can resign.
What you talking about? Alexi's jumpsuit with his
No. I'm talking about the new Avenger suit that he had on with the glorious hair. I don't know what they did to Bucky in those. What was it? 14 months from the end of quote unquote Thunderbolts to when. I don't know what they did with him, but I like it. I have been looking for that image everywhere so Casey can put it on a t-shirt for me because Bucky was looking good in that post-credits scene. They all were except for Lexi, but Bucky, yeah.
Bob was in his pajamas.
And you know what? I'll take Bob in his pajamas as a void to the void because that void, I don't know what they did to make the void the way that they did, but the fact that he was so blacked out and all you could see with the eyes, that was scary to me. That really was because it really, looking at the screen, it really did feel like something was just coming to envelop you in darkness. And I didn't like that feeling. I was like, okay, y'all did a good job with the void because I'm sitting in my seat and I was just feeling so uncomfortable with this. And I was like, oh, please don't let him be somebody that's actually like able to kill people like this. Cause what do we need Doomsday for? Avengers the Void or something. Cause
you know what? You know who else deserves some credit? Lewis Pullman. Because when he fell out the sky and got up and his stuff was all, or when they shot him and his stuff was all, he looked shredded. Oh my goodness.
He did. I was like,
he did.
I was like, wait, what?
Right.
He did.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't know why it took me forever. I'm sitting here looking at him on the screen. I'm like, he looks so familiar. Damn Bill Pullman's son.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that makes so much sense now. Like, I didn't even think about the last name.
He is.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about the
last name. I looked for it and I couldn't find any. I stopped looking when I didn't see it.
See what?
Because I was looking it up and I couldn't find it because I swore he looked just like Bill Pullman. And I couldn't find it, so I stopped looking.
Yeah, that's his son. So
I thought you were gonna say you recognized him from Top Gun Maverick as Bob.
I haven't seen Top Gun Maverick yet.
Oh,
I know. It's on a very long list of movies that I need to get caught up on. But yeah, but I saw a clip of him as Bob in Maverick, and I was just like, wait, so he's done 2 movies almost back to back where he's named the same character? That's weird. But I mean, it fit.
Just FYI, I've never seen regular Top Gun.
It's okay.
I'm honestly not surprised.
Yeah, it's okay if you didn't see the first Top Gun.
I'm not surprised.
You get the gist.
First of all,
you saw the clips. You know who was in it.
Tom Cruise was in it.
And you hear the same. You hear the same thing. I got a need for speed. And you know that part. So you're good.
As long as I didn't miss nothing.
No, you didn't miss anything. But the second one,
it's a good movie.
Really good. The second one was really good.
Okay, yeah. Top Gun is one of those classic 80s movies that's like, it was really good.
But you got the gist from over the years of them playing certain clips, and the volleyball scene. You seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Val Kilmer with no shirt on, and they're like, "Ooh, volleyball."
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about Alexi a little bit because
I love him.
When we were discussing the What If series, there was a episode of him and Bucky, and I was kind of not feeling as gracious towards the Red Guardian because I was like, oh my God, he is getting on my nerves. However, I will say this. I think part of the issue that I had with Red Guardian before was I felt like he was trying too hard to be funny without a lot of background. And now that, we get this movie and you get to kind of see him more as who he is without a purpose. Like the last time we saw him, he was in jail for most of the time. So it's kind of like, I don't really know anything about him except for what we saw at the beginning of Black Widow. And he was, very much dedicated soldier, dedicated operative, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets betrayed. So now you get to see a little bit more of that in this movie, and him just kind of, like you said, he came to the States. He's kind of feeling out of place. He's not really doing what he wants to do. He wants to be a hero, but it's just also, I think for him coming from another country, this country has an overabundance of superheroes right now, even though we don't see them all interact in all of the Marvel properties. But, I think I appreciate him more because you realize that he's covering up the pain that he's in. And yes, his jokes get very corny and they get very uncomfortable sometimes, but I like his character in this one. I like kind of how he tries to relate to everyone, but mainly I love the relationship that he and Yelena have in this movie. Like, if you had told me when I saw Black Widow that they would be a decent father-daughter relationship, I would have been like, no, there's no way, because she can't stand him, and he only likes them because they have red in their ledger. But I like the depth that they gave to their relationship in this movie. I do like his character. I was like, he is so much fun, and they needed that, especially with all of everything that's going on, everybody dealing with their trauma and all this other stuff. He was just like the bright light there. And when Yelena walked into the void and they had to pull him back, oh my God, I sobbed because I felt his pain. He was like, I've already lost one daughter, I can't lose the other. I felt it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love him.
His shame room was going to have something to do with his time in the gulag, in the prison.
Oh, okay.
So that would have been interesting.
Do they have those? Are they deleted scenes online?
I think Ava's might be. I don't know if Alexi's is.
Okay.
Because where do you get the information from?
Interviews. It was interviews from the writers.
Yeah, and they also said his shame room was not finishing Stranger Things the last season on time.
Now that's funny.
That's funny.
You know,
because since this is over, maybe we can speed it up a little bit.
You know, when we were watching What If, and we really love the relationship he has with Bucky. Something I realized, he has a little bit of hero worship in Bucky.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he does.
He does.
Then you think, oh wait, the Winter Soldier would have had to have been a legend to him growing up, and that's his hero.
Yeah,
and I think it's kind of cool to see their interaction.
And then Bucky's like a hero and stuff now and stuff. Yeah, he's like, he loves it.
He's like, I Winter Soldier. That guy is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I will say this. Ava's character, I didn't have a problem with her in the movie. Like, I like what they gave her to do, but still it's kind of like, I don't know if I should have felt more about her character, because we didn't really delve into a lot of her backstory. And
yeah, we didn't get a lot of time with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just kind of feel like, I don't know. I wanted more with her, especially because Hannah is so good as her. Just the way she and Yelena played off of each other. And yeah, I wanted more, especially since we didn't have that other extra member to deal with, because she was the one that actually, shot Taskmaster. I think Mike will probably love her for that, but yeah, I felt like I needed more. So, but she's going to be in Doomsday as well, isn't she?
Yeah, they're all confirmed except for Taskmaster.
Okay.
Well, I mean, she's barbecue, so she can't come.
I still don't understand. I don't understand why they did that. Like, how much did y'all have to pay for her to just come in and literally die?
I agree.
8 minutes. And the marketing, like, I have
in one line, I'm not here for you.
Yeah.
She got that SAG card. Got that SAG card.
I'm not here for you.
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the question to the two counselors in training, or therapists, whatever you want to call yourselves. How did you feel about the way that they dealt with depression in this movie?
Great.
No, you go first.
I think they dealt with it very well. It wasn't the only one in the movie. That we had the depression, bipolar, substance abuse, narcissism, their favorite one, Hanako. And just the whole idea of seeing how these things affect people, and that they are actually real people, whether they have superpowers or not. They still are humans with emotions. And just like everyone else, they are subject to mental health problems. And I think they did a pretty good job of showing that. And like I said, Marvel has a pretty good track record when they lean into it and when they kind of deal with it and sort of discuss it. Marvel doesn't have a bad reputation of dealing with it. Like, even with Edward Norton's Hulk, talking about, and him and when whatchamacallit took over the role, talking about self-harm. And I tried to take care of myself and he spit the bullet out. Marvel hasn't ever really shied away from mental health. And I think this movie is a testament to that. It's like a culmination of all these other times we've had to deal with grief and trauma. The one line I always use is the one the Vision said to the Scarlet Witch, What is grief if not love persevering?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get moments like that in this movie, especially between Alexi and Yelena. Mm-hmm. And I think that did a pretty good job.
Okay. They did a pretty good job. Okay, so the only issue I have is things don't get solved by a hug. Yeah. And they needed to promote more of what you do afterwards. Like it helped us get out of the void, but he still needed help. They all still
need
help. Mm-hmm. And just being around him to keep him occupied and busy isn't what's going to help Bob.
Yeah.
So the only time I really felt like they kind of dealt with it was with Bucky. Mm-hmm. However, Bucky wasn't really paying attention in therapy, but I think outside Bucky was actually taking what he was listening to in therapy and applied it. Mm-hmm. Even though he was pretending like he wasn't in therapy.
He was.
But he was actually, he was listening. He applied it. That's the only time I feel like they went through with it.
I actually had
Wanda, they showed, they showed grief and how people deal with grief. But again, like Wanda needed a hug too. They couldn't even give her a hug and see where she went, but she needed to see someone. So they'll show very well what people go through and what it really looks like sometimes in real life, but not the follow through. Mm-hmm. That's the only issue I had. Like the hug is not going to solve this.
No. Right. Especially
it's going to calm him down enough for everyone to get out of the void, and then we got to figure out what to do. So it'll be a nice mention of Bob, your therapist will be here on Thursday. Yeah. You'd be like, okay. Like,
yeah. Because what we got was the hug, them coming out of the void, and then immediately stepping into Valentina's bullshit with the press conference.
And then months later, we talking about a name and Bob's washing dishes, and we just got to keep him like, you're pacifying Bob so you don't get the void again. Mm-hmm. But you need to do more than that.
So I'm wondering I like to think
that if I'm sorry, I would like to think that if Bucky knows that it works because it worked with him, then he would do that for the rest of them.
Right, but it'll be nice to see it.
Yeah.
And so people be like, okay,
and like, it's okay to get help.
Just a thing about going to get help. So it'll help people like, I feel this way, because they were naming real issues that people feel right now. And then to just say something about getting help.
Yeah.
Because some people don't have their friends around them like that to give them that hug or kind of talk them through like Elena was doing. She was constantly trying to reach him. Like, I hear what you're saying. I felt the same way, but this is what we need to do. So that's the only issue I have is like show what needs to be done afterwards so that the void won't come back.
Or they could be group therapy. I have notes.
Oh, because then that's another thing they did do it in Endgame because Steve
he was one of the group.
He was going and talking about what they will need to do after everyone disappeared. So that was a good there. Mm-hmm. And Sam was already doing it.
Yeah. And the reason why I bring up the group therapy thing is Bucky would sort of be like the group leader. Because group therapy, the benefits of the sense of belonging, holding each other accountable, motivating each other, learning from each other, a safe place to express themselves, a safe space, and also the ability to see new perspectives and learning how to cope with it. Because that was one thing that Alexi was helping Yelena with, is he was giving her a new way to look at what she was going through. Mm-hmm. And Bucky, having dealt with his trauma and coming to terms with his past, because he stopped running from his past, he's accepted his past. Mm-hmm. He can help all of them with that, especially Yelena and John. Just come to terms with it, accept it, don't run from it. And especially with Bob, because Bob has a lot of things that he's constantly trying to run away from his past. Mm-hmm. That's everything about him is about avoiding dealing with any of those emotions from his past. any of those experiences from his past. Bucky can really help him with that. But I do like what Michelle said. It would be nice if we could see that, because then people would know that, you know what, if these people can go get help to deal with their stuff, then maybe I could too.
So I wonder if they're going to put at least a little bit of that in Doomsday, because from what I understand, that end credit scene where we saw them as the new Avengers and everything going on, that is actually a scene from Doomsday. The Russo brothers were the ones who actually filmed that end credit scene, and they put it in the movie. So I'm wondering if they are going to at least address a little bit of that, because Avengers Doomsday is like they're gonna have all of these people, because I think, what was it on the initial reveals, like, was it 33 characters? Maybe not quite that many, but it was quite a few.
32?
Yeah.
For some reason I want to say 25. Something like that.
But when is it coming out?
2026, I think.
Next year?
27, I think. But
do we get another movie before then besides Fantastic Four? Nope.
I'm not sure.
That's it. That leads her to another X-Men or anything? Nothing?
Not that I'm aware of, because I think the only other movie that was supposed to come out was Blade, and that I think is scrapped.
It's canceled.
But you know what? While y'all looking that up, another thing I want to add, even though I said that about they didn't show like the end thing, but it was kind of good that a lot of people see MCU movies and it can say like, even the superheroes, even the ones who are assassins and stuff, everyone has different issues.
Yeah.
And we got to deal with it. And someone as simple as Bob, who was just completely normal, has gone through a lot.
They have Ironheart coming out soon.
Yeah, that's
television or movie?
Television.
The television. As far as movie, it does say online Avengers Doomsday is releasing May 1st, 2026.
Oh yeah, I see that. Okay. All right.
So okay.
Everything else is a series.
Yeah.
When is that coming out? Oh, July 25th?
July 25th. Yeah.
So yeah. But okay. Yeah, I like I said, I love the way that they kind of did the oh my God, my mind just went blank. What are they called? The rooms. The rooms.
The shame rooms.
The shame rooms, yes. I like the way that they did the shame rooms. If only it were so easy to compartmentalize things and just kind of push them away until we wanted to deal with them. But I do like the way that they did that, and the fact that they were able to I think I really like the fact that you have all these characters who pretty much have their own issues to deal with, and they really are at that point kind of like, okay, well, you have your thing to deal with, I have my own thing to deal with, kind of like what John Walker said, every man for himself. But then when you see what's going on with this character and you're like, okay, there may be a way for us to save both of them, and they go in, no hesitation, no discussion, like literally Ghost is getting ready to go into the void, and Bucky is like, what if you disappear too? She was like, but what if we don't? And then when they have the conversation, John was like, yeah, I do recall seeing something when he touched me. And they were like, oh, okay, let's go. And they went in to do that, and they were like, okay, so if this is how we got to get out, you got to show us the worst room. And they were willing to go through all of that with him. I like that, because a lot of times when people are dealing with their own things, when they're dealing with their trauma, when they're dealing with whatever, we're always expecting our friends to be the ones to help us through, not necessarily strangers, unless you are in therapy, because most of the time when you go to therapy, you're going to somebody you don't know. But just in this context, it was just interesting to see these characters who, one, are superheroes, two, don't get along, three, are like, okay, who is this guy? Okay, this is a guy we knew for a few hours and now all of a sudden he's powerful enough to do this. Like, we should be trying to take him down. That's what you would think that most superheroes would be doing. But instead of that, they were like, okay, let's see how we can help him. And that made a lot of the difference.
Superhero. They didn't meet him as I said, that's because they didn't need him as a superhero.
Yeah.
They didn't meet him as a threat. They met him as a regular ass dude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So do you give John
to begin with?
You give John some credit?
We're not having this discussion again.
To the void. I mean, he went into the void.
He went into the void.
Went to go help.
He did. He went to go help. You could have stood outside and waited for him.
And that meant he had to go through his same room.
Yeah, to get through.
Rooms. Yeah.
Yeah. Many rooms.
That should count.
Many.
Yeah, that should count for something a little bit.
Whatever. I also like the fact that they took they used the same actress for young Yelena in this movie that they did in Black Widow. It's the same little actress, and I was like, she looks familiar. And when I went to go look her up, I was like, oh, that was the one who played little bitty Yelena in Black Widow. So I like that continuity.
It's nice.
What was your favorite part of the film? Don't everybody speak at once.
That's so many.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think the chicken strung out on meth hitting everybody was hilarious, because when they were talking about their past before, and he said something about I dressed up as a chicken holding a sign or something, but I was strung out on meth. I missed what he said because he said it so fast and so low, like he was embarrassed about it. So when I saw it in the first time, I had no clue what the fuck was going on. I was like, why the fuck is there a chicken hitting me?
He said, if you hit me one more time.
So yeah, that was one of my favorite parts, because it was totally unexpected.
I like the limo ride.
You know what? I was about to say that. And when Bucky came up like Terminator 2 and all of that him coming up the mountain in the limo, and she like, who is that? He coming out.
She's like, oh no.
It's daddy.
Oh no. Oh no.
He coming to kill you.
And him trying to turn on the special stuff, and Genuine's pony comes on. They're like, what is going on? And Yelena was like, who are you driving?
Yeah. Or like, this is bulletproof. It's somewhat
right. That whole limo scene, to me, I was just like, yeah.
My favorite scene is in the trailers, and is a very simple scene. It's where the truck is rolling and Bucky blocks the truck over his head. I don't know. I think that says a lot about his character. I like that scene.
Yeah. I mean, I like when they got their butts beat too.
Yeah.
They work together.
No, I like how he threw the Guardian out of the window.
And then brought him back.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I mean, it was great. But they were in pieces. Bucky was in pieces.
But see, again, that shows that he was, because he could have threw him out the window and let him fall. But he wasn't.
He wasn't trying to kill them.
Not trying to kill them.
Because he could have.
Oh, very well. He could kill all of them.
Different. But he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, they were his friends.
Yeah, they tried to help him. Help him. So.
Yeah. So, but I think he felt probably just a little bit more kind of indebted to Valentina, because if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't even have those powers. So
I don't know.
I don't think he was indebted to her.
No, I don't think he was. I think he just he thought that she came in maternal.
Yeah.
You didn't notice how she switched that on. She came in maternal, so he was thinking, someone to take care of him. Another scene for me is when Bucky,
what to do.
Right. Bucky didn't believe none of them when he had them tied up. And they were trying to explain. He's like, whatever. I don't trust you.
Then he gets the phone call. And he
Bob.
was like, huh? Wait, you said his name is Bob?
And everybody's like, Bob.
Bob. We said Bob. Yeah.
That was fun. Because
So
I
he's
was
like, okay,
like,
let me untie you.
Bucky, you have fought aliens. You have fought the big three, like Sam says. You have. How can you not believe something as simple as this? Like it's not out of reach.
I mean, not like he wouldn't believe it. He just didn't believe it from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If it was a different group of people, if Sam said it, he would have been like, where we going?
Yeah.
Where you need me to be? You know what I'm saying?
He didn't trust any of them.
He didn't. He's
absolutely
like,
not.
y'all
but
are
the
just
fact
saying
that all of them,
we're
this
saying
whole unlikely bunch, was saying the same thing, that would have been enough to give me pause. Like, okay, this doesn't look like a team that plays well together. So the fact that they're all saying the same thing, maybe I need
they
to.
were all in the limo. He didn't care.
Oh, he was coming to help. No, he coming to capture.
Yeah, they were. They were like, oh, Bucky's here. Oh no.
John Walker was like, Bucky. Bruh, Bucky wasn't your friend then. He ain't your friend now. I don't know why you so excited. I think my favorite parts were all the ones where Bucky was in them.
Of course they were.
Of course.
Of course.
They were.
And the ones where John Walker was not.
Right.
I mean, well, I will say this, and I said this during Falcon and the Winter Soldier when he got into the fight with the Dora Milaje. Watching John Walker get his ass kicked will never get old to me. So it was fine. But no, I did like seeing them all kind of band together at the end, John Walker included, because I think it does say something to him that he was the one that was giving, Bob all the shit throughout the movie. But then at the end, when everybody else stepped in, he could have easily been like, I'm not going to do this. But he was like, okay, this only works if we all do it together. So I will give him the credit for that. Now, whatever he does in the future, it just all depends. But I don't like his attitude. I don't like that narcissism.
And it may be better now that he's on a team and he gets some validation and
some account, and he's probably
going to be feeling and starts feeling right. But I like what Anthony said. We don't know. He may say those things to himself, but he's not going to tell perfect strangers that he feel bad about what he did in the past. And stuff. Bucky don't walk around like that either. But we know he feels bad because he's told his close people that he felt bad.
Yeah.
So
maybe he called Dr. Rayner and said, hey, Dr. Rayner, I got a couple more people for you to help.
Right.
Okay,
we have a session. And then my last favorite was just the bonus scene of them talking about Avengers. He said with a Z.
Baby.
Okay.
They don't have the license.
So this is my issue with that scene. This is probably the only issue I had with the entire movie. Because that scene takes place 14 months later, and they're talking about the issue with the Avengers and New Avengers, because we know in Captain America Brave New World, President Ross was going to task Sam with restarting the Avengers. So this becomes a point of contention in that post-credit scene, because apparently Bucky and Sam have had a conversation. Sam is, like, hey, no, I have the Avengers. You guys can't have the name, blah, blah, blah. And they hint at some, like a little bit of disturbance in between Sam and Bucky. I don't like that. You are fucking with my dream team. I don't like this.
I see it that way. I see like they agree to disagree. Because he didn't seem like he had hard feelings. He just like, I talked to him. I mean, like, he's saying no. I mean, I know, but points. Still. It looked like I understand his points now. I mean, we assassins and stuff. I get it. He's trying to,
And you know what? And I don't even think that would be the issue with Sam. I think it's probably more so the issue that Valentina might be over it. I feel like that might be the issue, because they went through this whole thing with the Accords where the government was over it. And if I'm not mistaken, in Brave New World, Ross said that Sam would have final say on everything, but he wanted them to work together. So it wouldn't be a project that's being overseen by the government, or, the government is in charge. Sam is actually in charge. And with New Avengers, Valentina very much put herself in the forefront. Oh, this is what I've been working on, and this is my team. And blah. I think that might be the issue, which for me, I feel like the rest of them should have that issue too. But I think at this point, they're probably like, okay, like you said, we're a bunch of assassins. We got a little rebranding to do for ourselves. Bucky is already known and kind of sort of trusted in the regular world now, especially since his background has been revealed. He was brainwashed, blah blah blah. The rest of them, not so much. So they're probably like, okay, we'll do this if it allows us to do what we want to do, be heroes, save people. We just have to deal with Valentina. But still, just the way that they brought that scene when they were like, I thought you was going to talk to him. He was like, I did. And it didn't go well. I was like, y'all messing with my team. I don't like this. I don't like it. But
I was going to say, I wonder if he asked him to join his Avengers team.
He probably did. Say it's too many. But I do like how they connected Fantastic Four, because I really don't know how I feel about that. Fantastic Four, but they're bringing it to, our time. Okay.
Oh,
y'all asked me my opinion after Fantastic Four, because I have mixed reviews.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be interesting. The trailer that they've released so far for it, it doesn't really give us much to go on. I mean, most of us are familiar with at least the basics of Fantastic Four, even if we aren't comic book readers. But I'm just kind of,
I'm cautious. Been told about 4 times already, so.
Do what?
I said, ain't the story been told about 4 times already? So.
Well, that, I mean, that's how they do with comic books. I mean, how many Batman variations have we had?
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Superman, and we got another Superman coming out this year. So okay. we know the basics. I'm cautiously optimistic just because Pedro is in it, and I love Pedro and everything he does. But
and Eddie, but
yeah. But we'll see. We'll see.
We will.
I'm going to reserve my expectations just like I did for Thunderbolts, because Thunderbolts is really, really good. And there hasn't been a really good MCU movie in a minute.
A lot of people are saying this is the best one since Endgame.
Yeah, I could go along with that. I could go with that.
Yeah, I can go with that.
I can go with that.
Because we can't really think of a name any that came after Endgame.
Quantumania.
Nope.
Shang-Chi.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's okay.
I mean, they've had some good ones, but
that's a plus.
They've had a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that was it, and then that was it. So a team movie, it's with a team.
Multiverse of Madness. That was good.
You know what? That was good, but we know how we felt, how they did Wanda. So that was the problem. It was good.
No Way Home.
The Spider-Man No Way Home, but that's not
necessarily an MCU movie, though.
Yeah, it is.
Mix. It is, but it's a mix. You can't find it on Disney Plus.
Let Sony tell it ain't no MCU movie.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So but that was great.
Yeah. So
nothing can beat that one. Okay.
Yeah, but I think as far as ensemble pieces,
that was
yeah.
Look, I got to watch that again now.
What?
Spider-Man.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else to talk about? I know, Anthony, you took some notes. Do you have anything on your note board?
I was able to sneak them all in. I got them all in.
Okay. So overall, we're all like very happy with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I think coming up next, they have Ironheart, which comes out in June. And I'm kind of worried about that because there has been almost no marketing for that show.
I feel like they're self-sabotaging it already.
Really?
Yeah. I feel that way. And I don't know. We'll see when it comes out.
Very similar to Brave New Worlds. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. We'll see when it comes out. Because it has to be good because it's gonna it may set up the Armor Wars, which is supposed to come out next year. So they have to be very careful with what's going on with this one.
Well,
I think Armor Wars isn't coming out till 2027.
Okay, yeah, after next.
So is it Ironheart a comic book already?
Yeah.
Like in the past?
I mean, yeah.
Because I think people are forgetting that.
It depends on what you think is past, but yeah.
I think people are forgetting that.
Yeah.
Because some things I'm seeing and they're saying is woke, and I'm like, well, this was in the comic book, so it's not.
I don't even pay attention to anybody.
They changing things. About like I'm confused. So like y'all forgetting what was in the comic book.
They don't care.
Or yeah, I was gonna say that most of them don't care.
Anything that stirs up controversy and gets them clicks and views.
Yeah, but Iron Man
just like people were mad. Sam Wilson is not my Captain America. In the comics, yes, he is. You know, it's like this.
Bucky has been in for a second and realized I'm not worthy. I mean, like
it wasn't I'm not worthy. It was Captain's not dead.
I'm just joking. I just watched Endgame again, so you know.
Oh, I haven't watched that in so long.
I mean, literally last weekend. So, you know, I watched my favorite scene.
Okay. Well, I think we've touched on pretty much everything that this movie talked about. I know we didn't get into like a lot of detail, but I mean, we touched on the important stuff because this movie had a lot of layers to it, had a lot going on, and we could have sat here for probably another hour talking about it. But as it is, we've been on here for 2 hours and some change, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. Let's see. Like I said, we have Ironheart coming out in June, and then Fantastic Four is coming out in July, so we will be covering those, so look out for those. But for now, that is it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media, on all the social media at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.